Welcome back to more Sip2Tally. I'm your host, Coach Evans, and today on the more Sip2Tally Power Rankings, we're going to bring you the number 16 team. It is the Seattle Seahawks, and they're coached by their new coach, Mike Macdonald, whereas he's taking over for Pete Carroll, the longtime coach who finally decided to step down, who was one of the older coaches in the NFL. They'll now be coached by one of the younger coaches or the youngest coaches in the NFL. And let's get right into it. Their quarterback room. They have, by my standards, the number 18 quarterback room. And leading that quarterback room is Geno Smith. In 2023, Geno Smith played in 15 games. He was 323 of 499, 64.7% completion percentage, just over 3,600 yards with 20 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. 92.1 passer rating. And let's see what his QBR was. QBR of 59.5. Geno had a resurgence of a career 2 years ago and kind of was on that trend again this year. And they were leading the NFC West for a while. And then they ran into this gauntlet of games. And I think that gauntlet kind of started with the Ravens, and they kind of leveled off and then died off, and the 49ers just kind of took off. And I think when they were leading the 49ers, they kind of lost 3 in a row, and that allowed them to lead the NFC West. But when the 49ers got back on track, the Seahawks did not. But also in that room, they brought in Sam Howell, who was the Commanders quarterback last year, and Sam Howell had a bunch of yards, but he also had a bunch of interceptions. Sam Howell threw for almost 4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, but he also had 21 interceptions. He had a passer rating of 78.9. And also in that room is P.J. Walker. P.J. Walker played with the Browns last year. Only played in 6 games, had 674 yards passing with 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions. So in that quarterback room, they have Geno Smith, experience, Sam Howell, who got a lot of experience last year. So if Geno goes down, they have a guy who played an entire season last year, actually played more games than Geno Smith. And then they got P.J. Walker, who started some games for Cleveland. So they got an experienced quarterback room, and I have that quarterback room at number 18 for this year. Let's go to the running back room for the Seahawks, which is a pretty experienced, well, not experienced, but a pretty good running back room as well. In their running back room, I have their running back room ranked 9th. They have Kenneth Walker, who's a really good running back. They're bringing in Charbonnet coming off his rookie year. Kenneth Walker last year, 219 carries, 905 yards, 8 touchdowns. Also, Zach Charbonnet, who came in from UCLA, had 462 yards, so that's a good combination amongst, but between those guys, they had 1,300 yards rushing. Both of those guys can catch the ball out the backfield. Kenneth Walker had 29 catches. Charbonnet had 33 catches for right around 500 yards between those two guys. 2 touchdowns amongst them to make sure. No, it's 1 touchdown between them. So you got 2 pretty good running backs out of the backfield that'll only get better as that O-line gets better. We'll talk about the O-line here in a little bit. But as the O-line gels and they get better amongst those 5, these 2 guys are really get better. And they also brought in Kenny McIntosh, a rookie from Georgia, from UGA. And so if he gets into the fold too, they got 3 capable runners in the backfield, all young. Kenneth Walker will be in his 3rd year. Charbonnet will be in his 2nd year. Kenny McIntosh is a rookie. So you got 3 young, talented runners in this backfield, and I got their running back room ranked at number 9. Let's slide over to the pass catchers. All right, let's start with DK Metcalf. We know the size of DK Metcalf, 6'3", 6'4", rocked up. Turbo died though. He had 119 targets, 66 catches, 1,114 yards, 16.9 yards per catch, 8 TDs. In said wide receiver room with him, Tyler Lockett, wily veteran, even though he looked like he about 60 years old. He had 122 targets, 79 catches, 894 yards, 5 touchdowns. But they also had the young buck, who was one of the better wide receivers when Ohio State had that plethora of receivers, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba. He had 93 targets, 63 catches, 628 yards. So Those three guys make up one of, if not the best wide receiver room in the NFL. I got this wide receiver room as number 9. Number 9. This trio of guys, because it's, even though those three, if it was just those three versus everybody else's three, they'd be top 5. But you got to factor in the other guys too. But those three are one of the best. If it was just 3 versus everybody else's 3, I'd say they're top 5-ish in the league. But you got to add in Dwayne Eskridge, who pretty much didn't do much of anything last year. And you got Jake Bobo, who was a rookie who actually had some stats to go with JSN, who was a rookie last year. He had just under 200 yards. And then you add Laviska Shenault, who they added last year. He had 60 yards on 10 catches last year. The good thing about Laviska Shenault is he had 10 targets for 10 catches. So every ball that was thrown to him, he caught it. Take that for what it's worth. But I got this wide receiver room ranked number 9. But the 3 big dogs in that, and if they don't get hurt, they're going to be pretty good. If you can just run them 3 out there, Metcalf, Lockett, and Jigba, and you don't have to run them other guys out there, you're in good shape. But if you got to run them other 3, that's when the drop-off happens. The tight end room. In that tight end room, they have one of the guys that I like playing with on Madden. When I played Madden, probably won't play Madden anytime soon with college coming out. But that's Noah Fant. And then said tight end room, I have their tight end room ranked 17th. Noah Fant last year, 32 catches, 412 yards, 12.9 yards per catch, no TDs. Also in that room, Farrell Brown, 13 catches, 208 yards, 1 TD. And Derek Young, no stats last year. Had they had any kind of production out of the 2 backup guys, this tight end room will be higher because of my love for what Noah Fant can do. But it's pretty much Noah Fant and me in this tight end room. And for that matter, I have the tight end room ranked 16th. If they had any real production out of these other 2 guys, I would have loved to make this group higher, but they don't. But I really love Noah Fant and his skill set. Fast, can catch, can block. He can do all the stuff that you want out of tight end, and he's really underrated in my eyes. He can do all the stuff that a top tier tight ends can do. He just hadn't had the targets like those guys have. He had 43 targets. You give him targets like, I won't even say Kelsey, because Kelsey's on a whole different level, but you give him 80 targets and these numbers will take off, man. Take off. He had 43 targets and 32 catches. He caught the ball 75% of the times it was thrown to him. So you give him 80 targets and let him have 70 catches, numbers going to be through the roof. But I don't want to get on soapbox. The offensive line for Seattle is going to be their weak link. I have the offensive line ranked last. Now they got young guys up there that really need to grow into their own. Charles Cross, he graded out at 67.6. Tomlinson, who they got from the Jets, he graded out at 55. Their center is Olu. I'm going to destroy this man's first and last name probably. Olu Watimi. He was a 53.1. Anthony Bradford, who was a right guard, 51.7. And then Abraham Lucas, who was 53.1. Their O-line ranked last. And that's why I was alluding to earlier about if they got some solid O-line play, all of their running backs will be better. Like Geno will be better. The receivers will be better if they O-line played better. This is, to me, the worst ranked O-line in the NFL. But because they're so young at the tackles, because this will be their third year as tackles. Both of their tackles came in the same year. They were drafted the same year. They're so young at the tackles, and they got room to grow. They got room to grow. That's the promise of this O-line. They got room to grow. They're the worst right now, but they could be better. They're going to get better. I'm gonna say that they're going to get better, and this will probably be the focus of their drafting going forward because they have running backs, they have receivers, they have quarterbacks at the moment. They don't have a young quarterback. They got older quarterbacks, and unless you want to Sam Howell, whatever you want to do with that. But O-line is probably going to be their focus maybe in free agency or the draft going forward. Except for tackles. They got tackles. And I think Cross and the other tackle can grow going forward from there. All right, let's get on to the defensive side of the ball. And with them, hiring Mike Macdonald, they're going to be a 3-4 team technically, but they're really going to be multiple. But for the sake of it, they're 3-4 team. Their base is going to be 3-4, and they're going to have nose tackle, some 4 eyes or some 2s, however they want to line them up, and 2 stand-up guys, but they're really going to be multiple. But for the sake of it, 3-4. There are 3 defensive linemen that's going to be in front. You're going to have Leonard Williams. Last year, the big pickup they got from the Giants. For them last year, he had 4 sacks, 41 tackles, 9 TFLs. He's going to be the cog, the main big guy up front. Adding that, they added Jarran Reed. If I'm not mistaken, Jarran Reed came from the Packers. Let me make sure. Nope, he was down with the Seahawks last year. I'm thinking about somebody else. Oh, that was the receiver that Reed that's on the Packers. Players mess up. But and also Draymond Jones. Draymond Jones last year had 49 tackles. Jarran Reed had 7 tackles. Draymond Jones had 4.5 sacks. Jarran Reed had 7 sacks. So those are your 3 guys up the middle. Your stand-up guys on the edge is Boye Mafe, who they drafted a couple years ago, and Nwosu. Nwosu is the other stand-up guy. So you got your 3 main guys that's going to be in the middle. Your stand-up guys who will be the guys that they'll drop them. They'll do different stunts with them. They'll rush the passer. They'll be your versatile guys. And both of these guys can do that in Mike Macdonald's system. Nwosu only played in 6 games last year. Mafe played in 16 games last year. Mafe had, what's that? 9 TFLs. 9 sacks. Nwosu only played in limited time. He only had 2 sacks. But the way Mike Macdonald used these guys, or will use these guys, these numbers won't matter as much because the 2 main guys that will dictate all this are going to be the linebackers, and we'll talk about those guys in a second. But the defensive line edge group for Seattle, I have at 26. All right, let's talk about your linebackers. Linebackers for the Seattle, I have 6. And this is, for me, I have their linebackers ranked so high because of projection going forward and what they did in the past. And it's more so of the coach too. Because I know what Mike Macdonald can do with linebackers. I also factored in what Dotson did last year, what Baker did last year, and what I know Mike Macdonald can do with a set of disciplined linebackers. Jerome Baker is going to be one. Terrell Dotson going to be with other. Jerome Baker coming from the Dolphins. Dotson coming from the Bills. Let's talk about Baker. Baker last year, 1.5 sacks, 78 tackles, 2 TFLs. Dotson from the Bills last year played in all 17 games, had 2 passes defended, 2.5 sacks, 74 tackles. You put those 2 guys, and if they fully commit to learning everything that Mike Macdonald wants to do, the sky's the limit for those 2 guys. Because Baker was already good in the stuff that they did in Miami. Dotson, losing Milano and going and doing what he did in Buffalo, he was good. So you put those 2 guys together, and on top of the system that Mike Macdonald runs, if they fully commit to it and go in and learn that, I'm telling you, this projection of them being 6 won't be off. I promise you that. Now, if they get hurt, that's different. If they stay healthy and go in and learn it and execute it, this projection won't be off. You might be looking at me crazy now, wondering what the heck I'm talking about, but it's going to be dead on. I promise you that. Let's go to the secondary. And the secondary is probably going to be one of the reasons why. Because their secondary is really, really, really darn good. Let's start in the cornerback room. Devin Witherspoon, 14 games, 10 PDs, 1 interception. Dog. Young dog. Tyreek Woolen. Tall, fast, 11 PDs, 2 interceptions. Was right there with Sauce for Rookie of the Year. Well, in my opinion, Rookie of the Year or DB of the Year when he got drafted. Dog. Michael Jackson's another corner they got. Dog. I didn't even mention, I still I think they still got Kobe back there. I think they still got Kobe Bryant. Let me check and see. Yeah, they still got Kobe Bryant too. Kobe Bryant, was Sauce's teammate at Cincinnati. So in that cornerback room, I have ranked Make sure I give you the right number. 5th. Got that cornerback room ranked 5th. Slide over to their safeties. Now, Julian Love. 173 tackles. No, it's 23 tackles. I'm sorry. 123 tackles. Brought in Rayshon Jenkins from the Jaguars, who made a ton of plays. 101 tackles. Put those two together. If they can find a guy that can play deep safety, can play the box, which Jenkins can be that guy. He can be Kyle Hamilton-esque. The sky's the limit for this defense. The sky's the limit. Like, their safety room, I got it ranked 20th. But they just need a guy that can play up, play back, play the slot. If they can find that guy, this defense can be really, really, really good. And again, that safety room I have ranked 20th. But their linebackers I got 6th. Their cornerback I got 5th. Matter of fact, let's just go through the whole gambit of it and see where I got everybody at so we can average it out. Seattle Seahawks, the 16th ranked team. At quarterback, 18. Running back, 9. Wide receiver, 9. Tight end, 16. O-line, dead last. D-line, 26. Linebacker, 6. Cornerback, 5th. Safety, 20. Add those all together, divide them. Came out to be 15.66667. That made them the number 16 team on the more Sip2Tally countdown. Let's take a look at the draft picks and see how they fit into 2024 team for Mike Macdonald. So Byron Murphy, the defensive line from Texas, they drafted in the first round. I didn't mention him when I talked about the D-line, but he's definitely going to be in that rotation. Definitely going to be in that rotation without a shadow of a doubt. May even start. Probably. May even start. Christian Haynes, I mentioned their O-line being last. Probably going to start too. In one of them interior spots. Christian Haynes, the offensive lineman from Connecticut, probably going to start at one of them spots. I didn't mention him because being a rookie, but those two guys probably going to start. Tyrese Knight, linebacker from UTEP, probably not going to start unless one of those guys get hurt that we mentioned. Tight end A.J. Barner will help that tight end room definitely. Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback from Auburn. It's going to be tough to break that cornerback room, but you can never have enough good corners. You never know somebody get hurt, go down, special teams, anything. Tough name for me to pronounce. From Utah. Lumia, offensive lineman from Utah. Matoa Lumia. I know I'm butchering that. Charged to my head, not my heart. But if you're an interior lineman, maybe get in that mix, maybe. Another cornerback, DJ James from Auburn. Again, never have enough good corners. And they drafted in the 7th round another offensive lineman, Michael Jarrell from Finlay. Again, they drafted 3 offensive linemen. So they tried to address the issue. The issue I talked about them being last, they tried to address it. They drafted Hayes in the 2nd round. They drafted the offensive lineman from Utah in the 6th, and they drafted another one in the 6th. They had 3 6th-round picks. They got 2 of them offensive linemen. So they tried to address it. And again, you see it on the screen, the name. So, I butchered it. It is what it is. But again, Seattle Seahawks, the number 16 team. Mike Macdonald's first year as a head coach. One of the youngest, if not the youngest head coach in the NFL. And again, I wish him well. I also wish him well because he has Leslie Frazier as an assistant head coach who went to Alcorn State, one of my schools. And I appreciate you guys for coming out, man. You could have been anywhere in the world. Do you think the Seahawks are too high, too low, or any of the positions that I talked about are too high, too low? I know you got something to say about that linebacker group, so put it in the comment section, man. And I thank y'all, and I'll see y'all soon, man. Peace and love.